Hey y'all, it is I, Dizzy81, and it is about that time of week for another Dizzy Talks. This week should be less than what it was last week, which was less than the week prior, as I'm sitting here stumbling over my own words. Of course, I'm taking up more time doing that. How has y'all's week been? How has it been? Playing anything new this week? Did any of y'all pick up anything off of the sales for the spring sale for the Xbox Live? I know I did. I picked up 2 games. I picked up Life is Strange. I did play the first one. I enjoyed it. I kept getting told to just play the whole thing through, so I pulled the trigger. It was $5. I said, why not? I also picked up State of Decay finally after I kept telling myself if it drops under $10, I'll pick it up. And finally it did drop under $10. So eventually I'm going to get to that. Last night, Shyness did drop. I know I talked about Shyness a little bit last week. The thing I do like about it, it is exactly what I thought it would be, with a mix of the RPG elements, a bit of action adventure, a bit of fighting. All of that kind of accumulates together and it creates what Shyness is. I was a bit surprised. It does have voiceovers, which is nice. And the way that they do their cutscenes is a bit more like a comic book rather than, a pre-rendered CGI trailer or anything like that. There are bits of that here and there, but whenever they're talking, it is in a comic book format, and it's really unique. If you're looking to try a JRPG style looking game, it's definitely one of those. It actually reminds me a bit of old games such as Spyro, like the original Spyros, and games like that, with the way that the world is set up. Now, whenever you get into fighting with people, you run up, you see them, and you engage the fight, or maybe they hit you first, and it does a bit of a flash screen, like as if it were going to do a JRPG where you would do a turn-based. But instead of doing turn-based, it ends up being, you're fighting, so you got your health bar, they got their health bar. If there's multiple people, they kind of limit it to you're fighting one person at a time. I kind of wish that they didn't do that, though. I could see if you jump into a mob, the way that the style is, I could see you getting beat up pretty quickly. So far, it's been really enjoyable. I wouldn't say that I'm like mind blown by it, but it's definitely an enjoyable experience. It's something new. It's something that I needed in my gaming library. Something other than my main squeeze arc, which actually I'm playing right now as I'm raising a baby Spino with my official server and my tribe mates that are over there. Of course, they don't need it, but it's something that I felt that I wanted to have personally. It's really nice that we get to have our own little personal tames. There's a lot of tribes where you can't have personal tames. I do apologize about the sound in the background. The sun has finally woken up and is now click-clacking everywhere. I digress. But there's a lot of tribes out there that won't allow their members to have personal tames, which kind of sucks. But at the same time, whatever. I guess, do what you need to do. I've also been streaming a little bit. I've been trying out Beam. I wanted to see how that was compared to Twitch. I'm not sure if I talked about this the last time, but I really enjoy the latency that you have between the stream with your Beam viewers and everything. It seems like it's a quicker stream, and it has less hiccups than you do with some other services. That could be because of the amount of people using Beam currently. I'm not a tech whiz as far as that goes, but I enjoy it so far. I definitely do enjoy it. I may try to do a little bit more streaming on there. Typically, you're probably only going to find ARC continent, whatever. I can't speak right now. But it'll probably be mostly ARC. Of course, my single player, I'll never put my official servers or any multiplayer as far as that regards until they finally announce PC hosting and its release date for the consoles. There's myself and another individual. We keep harassing Jat. Give us information on PC hosting. We want PC hosting. give us PC hosting. So yeah, I'll probably be trying Beam out a little bit more. You'll be able to find me at beam.pro/idizzy81, just like if you were looking for me up on Twitter or Twitch or YouTube. idizzy81 is pretty much my normal. I've been thinking about making a secondary account, especially with how involved I get with Arc. I named my character Hubba Bubba, if you didn't know, but Hubba Bubba is pretty much the name that I go by, and I've been thinking about maybe making a separate gamer tag, kind of like geared towards that direction. Who knows? If I do, I'll let y'all know here in the future. So there's other things that are going on this week. They announced what the insiders will be having for the April update, and it looks like so far this month we're going to be having tournaments with the arena. So you'll be able to host your own tournaments and do competitive gaming. You will be able to do it with your clubs. However, I'm not sure if it's going to allow, like, let's say if you're in a club and you have members that aren't part of the insider club, will they be able to join this tournament, or will they even be able to see it? Nonetheless, I haven't looked too much into that. The one thing that did stick out that I do like is if I do plan on doing streaming, let's say if I'm in a party, there's going to be a party overlay functionality for streamers, so that whenever you're chatting in there, they'll know who is talking, so they know when you're talking or if somebody else is talking. That is if you have it enabled for, like, I know with Twitch and with Beam, there's a toggle where you can put if you want your party to be talking and to be heard by your stream watchers or viewers. So that's a nice little functionality thing. Of course, there's a bunch of other little anonymous things that are dropping on that. Last night also, along with Shyness, they did drop Voodoo Vince as a remaster from the original Xbox. And then there's also, they released Guardians of the Galaxy, the TellTale series, episode 1. If you follow me on Twitter, you probably saw what the shitstorm was on Twitter among, several of other respectable individuals, maybe some not so respectable. The instigator himself. Just kidding. So there was a little bit of a bickering thing going on with whether or not Telltale Games have their rightful place within this, or maybe not even the rightful place, but just if they're good in general. I have to side on the side that I really enjoy Telltale Games. I enjoy the style that they have. They're really unparalleled as far as storytelling equivalence. Not that some others that we discuss can't tell stories, but I will give my nod to Telltale. They do an amazing job. I did download the trial for it. I do plan on probably picking it up. I absolutely love the Tales from the Borderlands. I did really enjoy the Game of Thrones Telltale. Really, really good stories that you can pick up through there. Some people, this became part of the debate of some people who play it just to get those easy achievements or trophies. If that really makes it that intriguing, or that is that a reason why people would actually pick these up, is just to do that? Because I feel that might actually be one of those. It's probably a little bit easier to play a Telltale game, and by probably I mean it's a lot easier to play a Telltale game and get through a Telltale game and get those given achievements than it would be to, let's say, play Halo and get the achievements that you want through there, because different modes, you may have to play different multiple times, do certain things, and it's not something that is so linear that it makes you come across it. It's just, of course, if you beat the campaign with a lot of games, as you go from chapter to chapter, your progress will tell you, hey, you got another achievement, because it's natural. But Telltale's, for the most part, they're strictly like that. I think there might be one or two that may have swayed a little bit from that. But that's essentially, how that goes. But enough about Telltale. They also announced the Xbox Fanfest for E3 and how they're going to be handling that this year. It looks like that they're going to have an early access, I'll pop up a little bit of what they have going on. Looks like 400 to 500 tickets will be available for first come, first serve, starting Wednesday, April 19th. I'm kind of reading the excerpt for you. Tickets will be released in drops throughout the day, with the first drop starting at 6 a.m. Pacific time. Stay glued to hashtag Xbox Fanfest and at Xbox on Twitter for when those drops occur. Please note that you will need to have a credit card to hold the ticket. There will be no charge to reserve the ticket, but cancellation fees will apply. The remaining 100 tickets will be distributed through a variety of other promotions/giveaways. Follow hashtag Xbox Fanfest on Twitter for when some of these promotions start. Be sure to hit the official Xbox Fanfest E3 2017 page for complete details and an FAQ, or frequently asked questions. So if you plan on attending E3, if you're one of the few that either you work in the media or you purchased a ticket and you plan on going and you want to go to the FanFest, you do have to have a ticket to get into each presser. So that's something, or maybe not a ticket, but an invite, essentially the same thing. The Xbox FanFest is actually a really nice thing for the Xbox community. Typically, whenever you go, they will, if you stay long enough, they may give you the invite to go see their presser there at E3. This is completely separate from what their presser would be. So they've been holding a lot of FanFests throughout the entire world as of late. I know not too long ago they did one in Australia. They've held one in Mexico City, among other places. Personally, being out in Dallas myself, I would absolutely love to have a Xbox Fan Fest out here in Dallas and everything. But I guess we have our QuakeCon, among other things that are out here. Retropalooza at the end of the year. It's a pretty awesome thing. So I've never been to FanFest. I haven't been to E3. I've had plans to go, just never ended up going. With a child a few years ago, and then moving this last year, just a couple of things that kind of went in the way of the hindrance and everything. And I was actually invited to go again this year, but unfortunately, we already got other plans as far as vacation goes. So maybe next year. Third time wasn't a charm, so maybe next year. We'll see. I think that, the last thing that I wanted to briefly talk about is games that are in a preview state, and whether or not if it's a good thing for the games or if it's not so much of a good thing for the games themselves. I can't be a hypocrite, because obviously Ark is a preview game or an early access game if you're playing on Steam, and it's used to help better the game. So for games in the aspect of the multiplayer sense, I 100% understand why a game preview might be the better option. And also with the multiplayer portion, you're not getting the single player experience, so things such as a campaign, any part of the story, stuff like that, it's pretty much null and void. Like, the developers for Ark at Studio Wildcard, they've expressed interest in having a campaign or a story that goes alongside it, but none of the stuff has really been revealed of what they plan to do with all of that. You've just been playing the multiplayer portion of it. So there's games, and I see instances where game preview might be beneficial, and it's really nice for, as gamers, to be able to play a game that is in preview. You get to feel like part of the development process, and it's a really awesome thing to see that available. However, and this is a big however, primarily I'm going to point out We Happy Few. They just released a second update to the game since it's been in the preview state, and it went into the preview state last year in August. Still has yet to be released. Now, the campaign, as far as I'm aware, has not been introduced into the game. Most of the single player elements, however, have been introduced to the game. And because this is a game that is not a multiplayer based thing, if you are somebody who's been playing it in preview, now let's say, for instance, let's say that they added elements of the campaign into there. What ambition do you have to go play the game, starting it over from the beginning to the end, and still contain that level of excitement as if you've never touched the campaign or any story elements prior to? You know, there's a sense of mystery whenever it comes to single player games and story driven games that kind of keeps you coming back. And, you know, kicking back to the Telltale games, you know, they drive this with stories. So if this was something that, you know, okay, well, we're going to put this in a preview, let you see how it is. So by the time that, you know, we're ready to have it released, everything looks great and everything because we've had these people in preview. Of course, you've already done the preview. Now, say they didn't give the achievements, maybe, yeah, you might go back and, you know, try it through. That's definitely a very viable situation. However, some of these preview games are getting their achievements prior to. So if you're taking a lot of this stuff and cooping it together, it's removing a lot of that element that it takes, you know, of opening up the fresh wrapper, you know, whether digital or not, you know, you know, for instance, taking that fresh wrapper off, the smell of a new game, it takes that smell away for you. And it just seems that some of these games that are going into preview status, they sit there and they sit there and they sit there, and you never see the end of the tunnel. Like, I'm not sure if it's released yet, but I know that The Long Dark has been sitting in preview for a very long time. Again, not a multiplayer driven game. However, it falls under that category where you've played the game. So what incentive other than achievements does it give you to go back and play? Now, of course, I don't know 100% about the game. There may be things in there that, you know, you can't do that would be in the final product. They may not even have the story element in there. I don't know. But what do you guys think? Do you think that game preview is a good thing, or do you think that it's a bad thing for gaming? Let me know in the comment section below. Hit me up on Twitter. You know, even tweet it to me. You know, let me know that you made it this far and everything. I do thank everybody who does continue to come watch these. I know that it's not a lot of views and everything, but every view counts for me, and it's the reason why I continue to do this. I know sometimes I don't talk about the best subjects, and I always have my jaded opinion whenever it comes to a lot of things. You know, I am an Xbox guy, so obviously I'm going to skew all of my stuff and my experiences towards the Xbox way. It might not be for everybody, but, you know, I thank you all. So we'll go ahead and wrap this up, and maybe about this time next week. I do apologize this week. I did not do a beer review. There's a couple of reasons why we didn't do the beer review, mainly because somebody drank my beer that I was going to review. That wasn't on me. It wasn't on me. So I'll try to get back to that starting next week. Again, hit me up with a subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down, whichever you like. Comment off down below. Would appreciate all the support. Thank you once again, and have an awesome day.